Welcome to our webinar, Some Tip and Strategy here about this topic, building startup success through self-awareness and emotional intelligence. In other words, the human side of success. Yes, indeed, the human side of business startup success as a tech startup or social entrepreneur startup, you name it. But as a tech startup, I think it's very important to understand humanizing this whole, hey, technology. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the importance of self-awareness, recognizing your own thought, emotion, and behavior is very crucial for startup success, right? As a founder, um, in team and collaboration, I think it's to be able to ask yourself, what is self-awareness and how does that fit into this business project, this business idea, this product or this offering of your services? What does that mean? I think it does involve any project. Creating a company does involve thought, emotion, and behavior. So therefore, I think we have to be able to be mindful and recognizing our thoughts in this process, our emotion in this process, our stress, our behavior. And a couple ways to do that is basically practice mindfulness technique like journaling or meditation to improve self-awareness. These are a few examples, but you got to come up with your own list. What worked for you? What worked for me is, you know, poetry. I like to write, creative writing and poetry. I need to figure out just a process, man. I think it's important to figure out something that just help you improve your self-awareness. How are you aware of your thoughts, of your emotion, of your feeling? Because if you're not aware of that in business project, in this whole technology sector, you're going to miss the mark on a lot of things. So it's important to understand the importance of self-awareness and also exploring emotional intelligence, known as EQ. What are the key level of EQ? There's five of them. Um, that include one self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And it's all about improving these levels, man, different levels to it. It's a lifetime journey. You can never get it right, but you have to be able to practice them. So that way, when it comes to situation where you have to be resilient, you got to practice resiliency. You have to learn how to adapt, how to change, because improving emotional intelligence, one way to do that is really be aware of your emotional vocabulary, your words that you're using. Words do matter. Remember, Maya Angelou did say that it's not about what you say, how you say it, it's how you made me feel. Mm. It's about how you make people feel. What words are you using? I think it's important to be aware of your emotional vocabulary, to consistently, regularly identify them. Label your emotion. You have to name your emotion. Have a team meeting talking about how you feeling today. What's your word of the day? What emotion stood? What's emotion stood out in this project? In this business, in this collaboration. Trust me, make the time to do that. And one of the things we're going to dive in more in terms of the five levels of EQ, emotional intelligence. A couple of strategy here is to first really understand that the strategy for self-awareness and emotional intelligence is basically focus on identifying blind spot, area for improvement. What is that you need to be improved when it comes to your feelings, to your emotion, maybe how to manage them better, because self-awareness is basically the foundation that leads to your personal growth. So let's expand on these right here. This key EQ level and strategy. We have self-regulation, control your impulse, manage stress, and adapt to change. Now it's hard. It's hard, but I think you have to say to yourself, how do you manage stress? You know how it is. We always say you got to do self-care. Come up with a list. What are some of the things that works for you? What do you do to take your mind off stress? What do you do to take your mind off stress? Come on with that list, right? Motivation. It's all about pursuing goals with passion and persistence. Yeah. You got to stay consistent. You got to stay passionate about your project, about this product. You got to stay passionate because without passion, what's the point? Yes, about making money. What did Tom Cruise say? Show me the money. But it's also about making sure you have passion and hopefully build a profit profitable business venture, right? Empathy, understand and share all the feelings is very important. Empathy has become the number one skill set, I think, according to data in terms of leadership development. Just understanding um, where other people come from with their feelings, man, teams and collaboration. Understand and share all the feelings. It's hard, but you got to. I think you're going to be triggered. Things will be said. You're in team. You're in collaboration. It's intense. It's going to happen. Normalize these feelings. Name your emotion. Name your feelings, but also empathize. Right. Social skill set you need to be aware about. Manage relationship and resolve conflict. That's what social skills mean. Manage relationship and resolve conflict. So we have to normalize this. There will be conflicts. Sometimes healthy conflicts are good. There's difference between healthy conflicts and not so much healthy conflicts. I think you can practice. You can role play. I've done a lot of coaching and training and helping team role play and practice. And also I also incorporate a lot of tools such as poetry and art, visual storytelling, just to help people process their emotion, just to help, because we need tools. You think about it, we need tools to process our thoughts, process our emotion, so we can be aware of them. And I bet you it'll help us increase productivity, even employee retention, even remain in a project. We do suffer in silence, remember. Remember that we do overlook the human side, even of business success in the tech startup world, in the technology world. It's all about integration too, right? It's all about realizing that at the end of the day, we're human. So yes, this concept of managing relationship and resolving conflict is important. And then lastly, cultivate empathy and social skills through active listening and perspective taking. Active listening, meaning that I think just listen, but now repeat what you just heard. For example, hey, John, thank you for sharing your thought. I think I do appreciate your thought, and I do appreciate your angle, and I do see where you're coming from. But just to clarify, did you mean that? Blah 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 blah. You see how I did that? Tone and empathy. Yeah, there's a difference between and tone do matter. Remember, it's all about how you made the person feel, right? And people are sensitive. We all are. Um, so practice them, right? Um, So tip and strategy. So yeah, let's go over them. One, practice mindfulness to improve self-awareness. It's all about being mindful. Whatever worked for you, find a way to practice mindfulness. And second, a lot of feedback, some constructive feedback from people you trust, you care. You can't trust everybody, but trust is everything in team and collaboration. Expand your emotional vocabulary to manage your emotion effectively. It's about the word. So sometimes, man, send an email. It can be tricky. Use the right word, or just go for a walk. Take the person for a walk. Like, listen, can we go for coffee, for a walk, and just talk? Craft your words carefully. For foster empathy through active listening and perspective taken. Just listen to perspective, but I think repeat back what you just heard, just to make sure, acknowledge the other person emotion, thoughts, and feeling. And fifth, build resilience and maintain a growth mindset for personal development. Listen, challenges mean growth and comfortable growth. It's about having a growth mindset. It's a mindset. There's going to be a lot of obstacle, a lot of challenges. Challenges are going to be. It's going to be some days where you want to give up, where you want to give up. But challenges will, if you shift your mindset to understand that challenges mean opportunity to solve a problem. Remember, that's why we're in business in the first place, right? In a way to solve problem. But it's important to practice, to practice, to practice, to practice. Think about sport. What's the purpose of going to practice? Basketball practice, or hockey, or baseball, or football, just to practice, some skill set. Get ready for game time. So when you prepare for game time, you have practice. Same thing with emotional intelligence. I think practice mindfulness, man. Practice walking, self-care, going to the gym, listen to music. Practice things that makes you help you aware of your emotion, of your thoughts. By doing that, so when you kind of live situation where there's a conflict, bad day, frustration, pain, trigger, trauma, mental health is deep. At least you're gonna you can go back to your tools box and say, man, let me just walk away. Let me go for a walk. Let me listen to music. Let me take a break. Believe it or not, do this thing consistently. Yeah, come on with a list. do what works for you. I think it just helps you have a balance, but you have to be aware of your thought, of emotion. You have to be aware how you show up in the workplace. You have to be aware how you show up that day. I mean, you may not be in the mood. One way, send an email to everyone and basically be vulnerable. And it's hard to be vulnerable. Send an email, say, hey, today I'm not feeling up to it, but I'm still going to be in a team meeting. Take note of listening. I just want to, give a heads up. Thank you for understanding. Oh, trust me, it does matter. But it's tough. We are so busy. We're human being, man. We such a work of progress. We are so messy, but we have to turn our mess into a message, especially have these messages around we can improve organization culture, leadership by just leveraging self-awareness, emotional intelligence, especially in a tech startup. For example, I mean, in the tech industry, we have so many industry in the tech, robotic, AI, cybersecurity, renewable energy, and you name it. I think the question becomes how does self awareness and emotional intelligence fit into this equation of business success? For example, what is an AI or computer vision? I think founders have to show you have to demonstrate that self-awareness by basically acknowledging that there's a potential biases and limitation in your algorithms. And remember, algorithms, are part of a step process that help us solve problems, right? So you got to remember that as human being, we bring biases into the work. We bring biases into in our own limitation too in these algorithms. So if you are not aware of these, you're going to miss the mark. So engaging with diverse stakeholder and showcase emotional intelligence is important too. It promotes trust and collaboration because when it comes to trust and collaboration, it does involve feelings. It does involve thoughts. It's good to be aware of them. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings surrounding this particular partnership and collaboration? You have to name the feelings. You have to name. You have to engage in strategy decision, but don't forget the emotional aspect of it, right? One example here. So founders actively engage with ethicists or social scientists and end user to gain insight into biases and limitation. So basically, you collaborate with people to making sure that as human beings, do we have any biases? What are our limitations? Now we intelligence, human intelligence, but human intelligence also have its limits, right? If you do not sacrifice your ego, thinking that you got it all figured it out, thinking that you want so perfection, you're obsessed with perfection, you're going to miss the mark. It's about having a balance. So self-awareness and emotional intelligence are very important, especially in AI and computer vision and other industry, as I mentioned. Yeah, think about self-awareness and emotional intelligence in cybersecurity, for example. As a founder of a startup, you have to, one way to build self-awareness to stay informed about emerging cyber threats. You have to stay informed. You got to do your due diligence. It does involve your emotion, right? How do you feel about the particular cyber threat that's out there that's killing people? I don't know. And I'm not tech savvy, but in that aspect, you got to be able to see where I'm going with this, right? Implementing a transparent reporting system is an example that can improve accountability and trust within the organization, especially in the sector of cybersecurity. I mean, it's important for founder to participate in industry forums and attend cybersecurity conferences, and that's with any industry. You got to be in tune with your industry, what's going on, the current threat, and so on, in order for it to stay updated. In the case of cybersecurity, it's important to stay updated and on emerging threats. That's involved, and that is your self-awareness. How your thought are into it, your emotion, your understanding, your whole being. Don't limit it yourself. Don't overlook this aspect here. And then I continue with different, same thing with different industry. What does self-awareness and emotional intelligence in renewable energy look like? I think founders can display self-awareness by monitoring market trends or regulatory change. There's a lot of things that are constantly changing. Renewable energy. I mean, I'm not an expert in these industry, but I know I have past clients where I've done a lot of let's improve team performance, team activity to build more trust and collaboration in project. Because these investors, they want to see a team that's resilient, that's adaptable, where everyone, especially leaders, have a high IQ of emotional intelligence. So it's very important to be mindful of all of that. You got to remain open to feedback from stakeholders that and show emotionally intelligence. Investors wants to see a team that can be resilient and adapt to change. It's very competitive out there. It is in a way, but I think if you develop a unique niche, a unique product that can stand out in the market, you can really beat the competition. But don't overlook emotional intelligence. Um, yeah, I mean, so many industry I can go on and go on. And I think that the bottom line here too. I was thinking about movies. There's a lot of movies that really show self-awareness and emotional intelligence in tech startup. We know one of the favorite one, of course, the Social Network, Facebook. The founder Mark Zuckerberg. Remember in the movie, of course, the Social Network. I think you see examples self-awareness, emotional intelligence, ambition. Mark's very ambition, but at the same time, Mark lacked a lot of awareness, and it did impact his action and also his personal relationship with the guy. What's his name? His co-founder. I forgot his name. And I think it's a perfect example where Mark, explored emotional intelligence, imagining his relationship and how he handled the betrayal and all these navigating ethical dilemma. But that's one example. And Steve Jobs, rest in power, rest in peace, a genius of our time. And you can see where Apple it is now, really creating a culture, self-awareness, a visionary leader who value personal connection and empathy. So as a leader and as a team and organization, you have to value those things and trust and believe that you have to invest in them. Step by step, you have to practice. Remember the sports analogy, the purpose of going to practice, a basketball practice or football practice before a game, it's a kind of those skill set, improve them. When you go to the gym, you work on these muscles, right? So that way you become stronger when it comes to game time. It's the same thing. We have to exercise those internal muscle, if that's the word. We have to exercise self-care, walking, listen to music. We have to just exercise these tools. We have developed tools that we need to practice in order to continue to work on our self-awareness, improving our emotional intelligence. So that way, when situation happen, because it's going to happen, it's coming. Yes, it's going to be a time where, whew, you're questioning everything, your product, the team, even yourself. You look yourself in the mirror, you say, whoa, I can't do this anymore. Yes, the mental health side aspect of this is huge. So it is very important to leverage just mental health and self-awareness, emotionally intelligence for business success. So self-awareness and emotional intelligence are vital pillar supporting startup success. All right. By understanding ourselves and others, we can definitely cultivate collaboration, innovation, and resilience more better within our ventures. It's all about improving every single day. And no matter how full the river, it still wants to grow. There you have it. Yeah, we done. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.